On Tiger 93.9, WTGZ, Union Springs, Montgomery, and Auburn, and AM 620 WTRP, LaGrange. The opening segment of Sportscall is brought to you by Lee Marketing Group. For signage, tees, web design, and more, call LMG today at 334-742-019.
You better buckle your seatbelts because it's going to be a show to watch.
From Tiger Communications.
Jackson, touchdown.
For 20 years, East Alabama's sports talk leader.
Swing and drive, mountain right.
Sportscall.
Oh, what a dunk.
Call in now at 887-3401-LOCAL.
Right through, he got it.
Or 1-888-9-TIGER-9, toll free.
Struck him out.
And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains, Sportscall.
Hello, everyone, and good Thursday afternoon. Welcome in to the latest edition of Sportscall. My name is Andy Graham, alongside my tag team partner, Randy Lee. We'll be with you until 5 o'clock. Then Randy will tag out. Brett Pritchard will tag in, and we will soldier on until 6 o'clock. We'll be taking your phone calls all 2 hours. 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free locally at 334-887-3401 on our AO Tourism hotline. A lot going on right now, of course. You wouldn't know it, but there's a big game in the college football world this weekend in Starkville, Mississippi. Number 3 versus the number 2 Auburn Tigers. Auburn traveling there to Davis-Wade Stadium to take on Mississippi State. An enormous game, playoff implications, SEC implications all around the country. It's really setting up to be a wonderful weekend of college football. A lot of other stuff going on as well. We'd love to hear from you, get your feedback on what's going on right now, how you feel about this game, or any other game that you'd like to talk about. Sports Call today is brought to you by Always Money. Always Money offers title loans, cash advance loans, Western Union services, and they buy your gold. Visit one of their many convenient locations or visit them on the web at alwaysmoney.com. Always Money. Easy, convenient, friendly, and fast. You can check us out on our Facebook page, or you can send us a tweet at SportsCallAU. But we would love to hear from you personally. 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free, or locally 334-887-3401 are the numbers that you can reach us. AJ McCarron backtracks after his comments kind of go viral on the Wednesday radio show that he normally does. First, he kind of claimed they were taken out of context, and he said he just misspoke. He changed it from Alabama doesn't have any true leaders to they don't have any vocal leaders. I'm not sure how that changes anything, but it's kind of all blown up now. We can talk about that if you like. If you got a comment about that, it's really, again, as I mentioned, setting up to be a wonderful weekend for college football this Saturday. Games all across the country have implications on, as far as conference titles are concerned and where teams stand in the rankings. Just a lot of great matchups. Again, number 2 Auburn versus number 3 Mississippi State looks to be the game of the day. Might quite possibly be the game of the year that is setting up right now. Most people look around the country and think these might be the 2 best teams in the country. MSU, the Mississippi State play-by-play man, Jim Ellis, will join us at 4:30 to talk a little bit more about the game. And then our very own insider, Brian Matthews from AuburnSports.com, will join us at 5:30 as well. We'll take your predictions, Auburn versus Mississippi State, the tiebreaker being Mississippi State third down conversions. And we'll also continue our question of the week, which was your most memorable Auburn-Mississippi State game. We'd love to hear from you, any memories you have from this series. I certainly remember the losses more than I do the wins, and I think that's kind of speaks to the fact that this is not really a rivalry-type game, but Auburn really expects to win this game every year, although that has not happened in the past at times. We'll also like to throw out a question of the day today. Which quarterback would you rather have for this game? Dak Prescott or Nick Marshall? That's kind of our there was an article written by Kevin Skarbinski the other day. He made a lot of good points about it. We thought about it. And I think Randy, it is a legitimate question.
It definitely is. And when you're looking at the 2 teams, and I think the best odds on a quarterback in the country winning the Heisman Trophy, these 2 quarterbacks are up there at the top, above Marcus Mariota at this point. A little bit surprised, but after this past weekend, and by the way, I watched a majority of the replay, or the SEC 60, which in 60 minutes you have enough of replays that you can go back and watch a game. I knew Nick Marshall played a good football game, but as you watch the highlights and the replay of that football game this past weekend against LSU, he couldn't have played much better, Andy.
No, I thought he looked better, running the read option. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. You expect LSU with the athletes that they have on defense that it would, he would look a little more pedestrian, but he didn't. He looked more athletic. He looked quicker. He looked faster in this game than he's looked all season. He made several guys just look silly. On that one run late, that quarterback draw right up the middle, it was so reminiscent of the Cam Newton run, in 2010. And, his athleticism just shined in this game.
888-9 Tiger 9 334-887-3401. He's 17-2 as a starter. How do you complain with that? And when you turn the film on, and when you see the playmaking abilities that he has, how do you complain? I guess the biggest positive that I see in comparison to last year, and look, we were all so intrigued by how well he closed out last season that we only expected or hoped that he would continue this year the same way as he did last year. But a couple of stats, he's really increased and played much better at quarterback position. Number one, interception rate and sack percentage rate is cut in half from where he was this past year. Only one interception on the season, 8 touchdowns, that one INT, starting to really get it going, running the football as well. Close to 400 yards, 392 yards rushing. Has eclipsed the 100-yard mark the last 2 weekends in some big football games. He's playing great football at this point. Yeah, and you look at his resume, he's 17-2, like you mentioned, as a starter. And we're not talking about a guy that's playing cupcakes every week. This is his 6th start against a top 10 team. His 4th start against the top 5 team. He's 7-2 against the top 25. He is 3-2 against the top 10 and 2-1 against the top 5. Again, we're talking about a guy who raises his level of play when the chips are down, when he needs it the most, when you need more out of him. He can elevate himself and rise up to the level and play against stiff competition. When you compare that, and again, you look at Dak Prescott, his numbers are better than Nick Marshall's right now. 63.9% completion percentage compared to 57.9 of Marshall. He's thrown for 1,232 yards compared to 755 for Marshall. 13 touchdowns to 8 touchdowns for Marshall. So his numbers are better right now. And you look at him, and that's why a big reason he's getting all this publicity as far as Heisman candidacy. He's got 450 yards rushing on the season, 6 touchdowns rushing. He is having a phenomenal season. But you look at his record as a starter, 9-3. Now, you go back, and last year he was kind of in a 2-quarterback system. So, but to be honest with you, he played the majority of the Texas A&M game. He played a tremendous amount in the Oklahoma State game. Those are both losses. So you can add that to his resume. So where Marshall is 7-2 against top 25, Dak Prescott would only be 2-4 versus the top 25. That's what Mississippi State's got to do. They get over the hump against LSU. Dan Mullen has had pretty good records. I mean, when you get 9 wins at Mississippi State, you're doing something. You're not going to get bounced out of town anytime soon. But that record against the top opponents, especially in the West, has been abysmal for Mississippi State, especially against top 25 teams. They do get over the hump. They defeat LSU. Can they beat a top-ranked, second-ranked team in the country in Auburn at their home field this weekend? That's what they'll need to do. And if he gets that, Dak Prescott, I think he'll be up there at the top of the Heisman Trophy talk. But if Nick Marshall goes on the road and Auburn wins this game by a couple of scores and he puts up the numbers that he put up last weekend, trust me, he's going to creep his way right up to the top 3, I think, in the Heisman Trophy talk also, Andy.
And I don't think there's any question. If Auburn wins this game, I don't care if they win it on a last-second field goal. If Auburn wins this game, they're clearly the number 1 team in the country. And I think you'll see that. I think they'll go above Florida State in both polls, and they should. Now, can the same be said for Mississippi State? If Mississippi State were to beat Auburn by 2 touchdowns at home, I would vote them number 1. I would jump them over Florida State. I'm not sure that'll happen, but to me, this right here game, you're talking about, the quarterback that wins this game has a leg up in the Heisman Trophy race. the winner of this game has the leg up in the playoff race. That's certainly in the SEC West. Has there ever been a game that had more, based on it? And of course there has. The Iron Bowl last year. I mean, it's just the next game is the biggest game of their life.
It definitely is. And Mississippi State, I think, is the biggest revelation here, is that they are in a game like this. They've got game day coming there. The state of Mississippi is not used to what they've seen the last couple of weekends, and it'll continue on as long as the winning streak continues on. But I'm not surprised. I heard so many outside of our program yesterday as I listened to the national talk shows. And when you look down the top 10, or if you look at the AP rankings, the team that loses this game has a very good chance of getting themselves back in the national championship hunt, a very good chance of finishing off in the top 4. I know I heard Colin Cowherd today. He said he doesn't think Auburn's going to win this football game, but he thinks Auburn's got the best team in the country. Tells you how tough it is to go on the road in the West. And have you seen the story, Auburn taking the Cowbells over? What's the story here?
Well, I don't know. And I saw that the Mississippi State AD had sent out a letter now reminding the Mississippi State people when they can ring their cowbells and when not. Coincidence? I think not. But I say let them have. This is their deal. Let them have it. I don't care anymore. Cowbells. Who cares? It is an artificial noise maker. For some reason, they somehow or another they pull the wool over everybody's eyes to say, "Oh, well, this is just our tradition. We can do it. Nobody else can." I don't care.
We've got Jim Ellis on, who is the play-by-play broadcaster for Mississippi State. If you've got questions you'd like for us to ask Jim, call in 888-9 Tiger 930-401. He'll be on at 4:30 with us, and glad to have him on. We had Matt Wyatt on earlier, who's the color analyst for Mississippi State. He was on Sports Blitz earlier in the week. And, look, you can't beat the timing for them also. Look, we're sitting up here as Auburn fans in the last couple of seasons. There's something's got to seriously be wrong with you if you can't do programs or if you can't be broadcasters when your programs are doing as well as they are now. That's the first question I would ask is, what's it like in the state of Mississippi right now? Just give us a little insight of how excited that state is to see not only what's happening with Mississippi State, but Ole Miss also. And they hate each other, by the way.
They do, absolutely. And, just go ahead and cancel class for the rest of the week. I mean, let the students get properly prepared for a game like this. Again, our question of the week, we'd love to hear about your most memorable Auburn versus Mississippi State game. And which quarterback would you rather have, Nick Marshall or Dak Prescott for this game Saturday? Again, A.J. McCarron backtracking on what he said. To me, I say, look, his opinion. If he says he believes this is the reason that Alabama lost this game, this is the reason that Alabama doesn't look like the same team that it's been, that they're lacking leadership. I mean, it's his opinion. I on one hand, I think, why is everybody blowing up on, about it? But then again, when he turns around and backtracks and tries to cover his tracks, I think, he should probably be quiet in the first place.
Well, first off, I think you got to be smarter than that. I mean, he's talking to the Alabama faithful out there. He's their guy. He's speaking, I think, from the fan base's perspective. And when Nick Saban, look, if he moves on and they bring in a new coach and that new coach struggles, the rest of the fan base is going to be questioning that guy as much as the other. But I don't see any of the fan base. They may be throwing a couple of questions out about the offensive woes, but the defense still playing as well as they are. But has it really passed Nick Saban by? But I don't think the rest of the fan base is saying things are still things would be this good if we had somebody else there. They're not to that point yet. And if A.J. McCarron, who is just a guy out there speaking his mind, yes, he has some insight. Look, it's a lot easier sometimes just to be quiet and let things pass and hope that time cures all. But the more that he goes on radio shows like he did today in Tuscaloosa and backtrack everything he says, the worse I think he makes it for himself.
Yeah, that's why I just say, go ahead. If you believe it, say it, and let the consequences be what they are. But when you go ahead and try to backtrack and say, well, I was misspoke, I misspoke on a word, which I don't think it really changes anything that he said. Or you try to go back and say, well, it was taken out of context. Well, no, not really. I mean, you don't need to listen to the entire interview to hear what he was trying to say. And
I'm not sure a lot of Alabama fans don't feel the same way, that there is a lack of leadership on this team.
Up against the break here on the first segment of the program, I didn't know if you saw, but I know we'll bring it up here in the next segment. Adrian Peterson, Lord love him. He can't get out of his own way also. He smokes a little dope going into the courthouse yesterday. I think he has something against his parole. He'll head back to jail. Is that the way I read? Did I read that correctly?
I think they want to revoke his bail. They want to rearrest him, and I don't know if they will or not, but you chalk this one up to maybe the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But we'll continue to talk about that. We'll talk about some of these other big games as the show progresses this weekend in college football. More Sports Call on the way right after this, presented by Always Money.
Hawaii and more on a land trip or cruise. Contact Ruta Lisa Anderson at Cruise Planners today. Why do the planning when it can be done for you? Visit exclusivecruiseplanners.com or call 844-722-6342.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Randy here with you for another hour and 40 minutes, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free or locally at 334-887-3401 on our AO Tourism Hotline. Again, our question of the day, which quarterback would you rather have for this upcoming big game, Nick Marshall or Dak Prescott? You can judge by what they've done on the field this year, judge by their overall record, the intangibles. Everything comes into play here. Who would you rather have quarterbacking your team? Again, a lot of other big games going on around the country this week. We'll, again, take your predictions. Auburn versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State third down conversions is the tiebreaker. And we'd also like to hear your most memorable Auburn versus Mississippi State game. Again, Randy, one of the games that's normally, one of the highlight games of the week, the Red River rivalry. The Red River rivalry. Texas now 2-3, 1-1 in the conference versus number 11 Oklahoma, who lost to TCU last week. They're 4-1, 1-1. This game usually one of the best games of the week. Last year, much the same. I thought coming into this game it was going to be a runaway, and it was for Texas. One of these games that you really can't ever predict, but I think you have to go, coming into this game, you have to think that Oklahoma is a huge favorite.
Well, they are. They're favored by 14.5. And when you look at the ball game, the biggest question for me is how in the world does Texas get to where they are now? And there's so many teams that have become that. This weekend, if I would have told you 5 years ago that the LSU and Florida game wouldn't mean too much, would you have ever believed it? And I don't think anybody would, because Florida was doing what Florida is doing, and LSU, we just thought that it was the juggernaut that was, and if at worst they were going to be second in the West and always be in competition for national championships and SEC titles, and they play this weekend, and Lord knows what happened with those two programs also. So let's quickly go back to the phone lines, though. Ed and Auburn, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, guys.
Good to hear from you, Ed.
It's good to talk to y'all. I'll go ahead and put my prediction in at, let's just say 42-38. And what was the tiebreaker?
Third down conversions for Mississippi State.
Percentage-wise?
Just how many third down conversions will they get? Don't ask me why in the world we're asking that, but we'll just throw it out there.
Because LSU was 0 for 13.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm going to say that they'll get 5 third down conversions.
Okay.
And I was just going to comment real quick about A.J. McCarron and McElroy and some other players. Doesn't it seem to y'all that there are a lot of players that leave out of there that don't really have a really good memory of their experience there? I mean, we've got players, Bo Jackson and a lot of other players from years back, and from they just brag about how good their experience was. But when you've got A.J. McCrine, 2 years out, and then McElroy, 4 years out, doesn't it seem to you like there's a lot of kids that are leaving there that are really disillusioned with the pro they were promised and their experience there? That what they were promised and what they went through, and this isn't even to say this doesn't even address all the players that have been let go. And I appreciate y'all taking my call. I'm gonna hang up and let y'all make comments or go on to something else. But it seems to me like there are a lot of kids that are leaving UAT that didn't like their experience there. War Eagle,
yeah, thank you for the call. Yeah, I keep up with Auburn so much more. I see Auburn so much more, and I hear about all the players. We have so many former Auburn players on this show, and I get to talk to them. And I know what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying.
I don't keep up with Alabama enough, specifically with that to I'm sure there are a ton of former players that show up for games and that kind of thing. However, I will say that the way Auburn has framed themselves with the family atmosphere, we are a family, and I see more players coming back and living in Auburn. I see more players having, talking about Auburn like this place changed my life. It made me a better man. And I see more Alabama players say this got me to the NFL. And, and don't really, you don't see about them. You don't hear about them much more. And just from a perception point of view, just from an outside looking in, it appears that way to me as well as what Ed was kind of talking about.
I think that a lot of that may go back to the athletic department in Auburn and what's important to them and what they push, because I truly do. I watch our sideline last weekend, Bo Jackson standing there at the goal line, and you see him and directly the camera moves as Nick Marshall makes that move that you mentioned was the Cam Newton run back in 2010. They pan it over to Bo Jackson, his mouth's wide open. And, of course, all us Auburn fans are like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I mean, he's wowed by our quarterback. Last year, he's down on the ground, beating the ground as Trey Mason's running a couple of those touchdowns in. Those are things that are ingrained in our brain. And I do remember as the Bo Barkley and Big Hurt 30 for 30 or SEC special that they had when the first couple of weeks the SEC network went on air, Nick Saban was the closing talk. And if you remember what Nick Saban said, he thinks that it's special what Auburn's got with those three players and how much they've been willing to give back to their university. And that's a great thing, and that all players should strive to do that. By the way, my 89-year-old grandfather, that's the first thing he said about the special was Nick Saban's a good man. I sure did appreciate what he said about Bo Barkley and the Big Hurt at the end of that. So, I mean, take that for how perception is. And I do think perception is reality out there in many ways. And I think the perception of Auburn is family, and that's a good thing, Andy.
Well, we just had Benji Rowland on the show, former nose guard at Auburn, just last week. And what did he say? He said, he was in during the Bowden years, and he said, I got out of coaching because I didn't want to leave Auburn. He lives in Auburn to this day and loves it. That's the kind of thing you hear over and over again from former players. And I just think there's a reason for that.
Hudson, Duffner, I keep going down the line. And I mean, these aren't guys that kind of tout Auburn pride. These are guys that's what's written on their chest. I mean, that's what's written on their wives as well. I mean, those two, their wives are as vocal as they are about their love for Auburn. I think that's important because it is a family atmosphere, and we do present that. And both of them make their home in Auburn, Alabama, and both of them, I think that becomes a very important part that you brought up. Look, I'm trying to pull up some specifics, but I'm getting a tweet out there and getting a couple of thoughts. Gurley suspended. I'm trying to find out exactly what's going on there, and I'll look it up and find out exactly what the deal is. If you've heard anything out there, we're on air. We haven't heard anything specific, but 888-9 Tiger 9 334-887-3401.
You gonna drop a bomb on me like that? Isn't
well, look, that's all I can do.
Right.
It's from a credible source that, by the way, lives and breathes by many of the online sites. Now, you can say, is everything on the internet correct or is everything on the internet true?
Right.
No, but I'm willing to on this program to throw it out there and see if anybody knows anything specific.
Sports Call today brought to you by Auburn Urgent Care. Auburn Urgent Care offers convenient solutions for your health care and occupational medicine needs, including workman's compensation injury care and certified DOT medical examinations. With locations on South College and in Tigertown, visit them online at auburnurgentcare.com. We will effort to find out everything that we possibly can. Randy's giving me the signal here.
Sports Center breaking news. Todd Gurley has been indefinitely suspended during investigation into alleged violation of NCAA rules. That is sent out by Sports Center. Don't have specifics. Try to read into specifics, but that's big news out there. And look, we've got big news. We got a big guest coming up next. Huge football game this weekend. Can't wait to have Jim Ellis on and talk with him, the voice of the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Hopefully when we come back, we'll catch up with Jim Ellis, ask him what he thinks about this upcoming matchup this weekend. Join us when we come back. More Sports Call on the way. Wow.
Pepper. Dr. Pepper is a proud sponsor of the College Football Playoff. Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy Graham here with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9, toll-free, or locally at 334-887-3401. We'll pick up your phone calls in the next segment. Right now, we're going to welcome in a very special guest, Mr. Jim Ellis, voice of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, play-by-play man since 2011. Jim, how you doing today?
Doing great. Good to be with you.
We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Now, Jim, I realize you've been with the Mississippi State broadcast team in some capacity or another for many, many years, but you replaced one of the all-time greats, Jack Crystal, I think back in 2011 when he stepped down. What's that like, having to replace a legend like that?
Well, you never replace a legend. Obviously, he is an icon at Mississippi State, and as you know, he recently passed away. But he has a special heart in everybody's place. He was a great play-by-play broadcaster, represented the university well, great ambassador. So there's no way you try to replace him. You just try to do the best you can. And luckily, the product on the field's been pretty good here the last 2 or 3 years. And so it's been enjoyable to watch this team develop, and certainly it's been enjoyable so far here in 2014.
Yeah, here at Auburn, we had a really beloved play-by-play man, Jim Five, and he kind of untimely passed away after the 2002 season. I remember thinking during the 2004 year when Auburn went undefeated and won the SEC title, I remember thinking it's just such a shame. Nobody would have enjoyed this more than Jim Five, and I'm sure nobody would enjoy this season right now that Mississippi State's having more than Mr. Crystal.
No doubt. He would love this. This would be great. I knew Jim well. Jim Fife was a good friend and Jim was obviously a good play-by-play guy, and a guy that we really enjoyed. Certainly an untimely passing, but I think all universities have people that represent them well, and forever the people who listen to their broadcast and who follow the ball club with their eyes, and those things last forever, and those memories last forever. I think they hold a special place in places like Auburn, Alabama, and Starkville, Mississippi.
Well, Jim, last week a huge win over Texas A&M, beating a top 10 team there. Now an even bigger test as the number 2 team in the country comes into Starkville. Can Starkville, Mississippi, contain the buildup and hype that is going into this game day being there? Just to kind of tell us what the atmosphere is like right now on campus.
Well, there's no doubt the big talk right now everywhere that I go is the football game of last week and the one coming up this week. So SEC Nation was here last week. It was sort of a good tune-up for this week, I think. SEC Nation brought out a lot of fans, and they were there on Friday evening and there on Saturday morning prior to the football game. And then same type of situation this week. It's been much talked about. Obviously, the opponent this week is the best that Mississippi State has faced this year. I'm not sure there's ever been a matchup in this stadium of 2 top 5 ball clubs. And the fact that obviously Auburn's number 2 and Mississippi State's a tie for number 3 in the country in the AP poll makes this maybe one of the biggest games that's ever been played in Davis-Floyd Stadium. So you can imagine the atmosphere, a lot of things planned around the ball game, and the hype has been, as you mentioned, quite exciting for a lot of people. But when it gets to the game day, I interviewed Coach Mullen a little bit earlier today, getting ready for the weekend, and he talks about it. The team has to focus, not worry about that. And he says he thinks they've done a pretty good job of that this week.
Yeah, that was my next question. We try to put labels on everything. I think last week everybody said, this may be the biggest game in Mississippi State history. Now, is there any question that this week is the biggest game in Mississippi State football history?
Well, it's the biggest game in the 2014 season right now. I think if national rankings is what you judge, obviously that's the judgment or the criteria that you use. This is the highest ranking that Mississippi State has had and it's the highest ranked team they would have played, and when they're ranked this high. So, yeah, from that standpoint, and maybe from a national exposure standpoint, and whether it's the biggest game, when you look back at some of the big games over the years that meant a lot and maybe were deeper in the season and had more, I can remember a game we beat Arkansas. It got us to the SEC championship game. I mean, that was a huge football game. And there have been a lot of other big games. The defeat of Alabama back in 1980 with a football team when they were number one in the country and had won 28 consecutive ball games. There have been some big games, but I'm not sure that there's one that's been as hyped like this ball game has been hyped. I mean, when you're talking about two teams in the top five and a sold-out crowd and all of the things that surround it, like ESPN Game Day. I mean, it's a big game from that standpoint. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We've got Jim Ellis, voice of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, joining us here on Sports Call this afternoon. Jim, what's the difference between this year's team and say the last couple of years? What's the difference that's allowing Mississippi State to be so really frighteningly balanced and consistent so far this year?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, it's Dan Mullen's sixth year. He's got a veteran ball club. He's got a lot of guys who have played on both sides of the football from the last couple of years. He's got more depth on the defensive side, particularly in the front seven, than he's had, I think, in any time during his tenure. The offensive line was a little bit of a question mark. They performed well to this point. And I think the it factor is the fact that they've got a quarterback who's really making plays, playing at a very high level, playing with a ton of confidence, and has maybe the most talented receiver group that we've had since Dan Mullen's been the coach here. So he's got better personnel, he's got more experience, he's got more depth, and he's got a quarterback who's a playmaker. And I think those things, when you put them all together, make this a pretty good football team.
Mississippi State will get back their suspended center, Dylan Day, this week. But to be quite honest with you, it didn't look like that Mississippi State missed him all that much this past weekend. Am I wrong?
Well, it didn't seem to. I mean, the offensive line played well. Ben Beckwith, who had been playing at guard, moved over and played center. They had a young man named Devin Desper who moved into the guard position and really did not miss a beat. It didn't look as if offense racked up a lot of yards and scored a lot of points and were pretty consistent throughout the football game. I think, though, you can't have enough depth in that offensive line, and I think it'll be good to get Day back. Certainly it gives you more options. But the one thing that and I think most teams do this now, but I know John Hevesy, the offensive line coach, he works with all those guys, and most of them can play at least two positions, maybe three positions on that offensive line. So they're pretty interchangeable parts. I guess the one thing that was a particular concern is the fact that Ben Beckwith had really not snapped the ball in live activity. He had done it as a backup role in practice situations and in the spring, but he had to go out there and he really snapped it well. And that's, as you know, when you run out of the gun almost all the time, it is critical that you get a consistent snap to the quarterback. It makes plays that if it's not a good snap, sometimes you catch it, but if it throws the rhythm off, the play gets not executed as well. So that was a big factor, I think, in that ball game against Texas A&M.
You mentioned the receivers, De'Runnya Wilson having a tremendous year, Fred Brown stepping up. A guy, Jamion Lewis, was out last week. Can you update us on his injury status?
Every indication is he will play in this ball game. I think he's expected to be back. Gabe Miles stepped in, played the slot receiver, had a good ball game. He's a redshirt freshman who they think very highly of, a Starkville kid. But the receiving core has some depth to it this year. And there's some guys who are having solid years, but they have some guys like Robert Johnson who hasn't caught that many passes this year that had a very good year for the Bulldogs last year. Malcolm Johnson, the tight end who's sort of a hybrid guy, has had some games where he's caught some passes. He's also sort of been in some games where he hasn't been much, but he can be a real factor. So there are a number of players in that receiving core, I think, that have a chance to make plays. But having Jamion Lewis back is definitely a help because he is a guy who can be a game breaker. He's certainly capable of taking it all the way at any time, and he's an experienced receiver. He's a very difficult guy to tackle often in the secondary. So, but overall, this receiving core has depth and it has some playmakers, and they've They seem to be on the same page with Dak Prescott, and he seems to be very, very comfortable with this group.
Jim, when you look down through the statistics, this Mississippi State team is just very solid and to really, really good in almost every single area. And then you get down to pass defense and giving up 328 yards a game. It just looks so out of place. Having watched them, knowing so much about them as you do, is this just a situation where the stats really don't tell the truth? Have they played better than their stats indicate, or is this a significant issue for them?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's an issue. Anytime you give up that much passing yardage, it's an issue. They had a very, very poor game in the secondary, made some coverage mistakes, and got beat on a couple of one-on-one situations against UAB, and gave up 3 or 4 long. In fact, I think they had in that ball game had several plays that went for better than 50 yards. So they had some big breakdowns in that ball game. Outside of that, the breakdowns are so much of the yardage has come in the last 3.5 minutes of the LSU game. They gave up 160 yards, almost all of that in the air. In the last 3 minutes plus of the Texas A&M game, much the same situation, well over 100 yards of passing yardage just in the last 2 or 3 minutes. And those kind of things, partly because you got secondary personnel in, partly because you're playing a very loose defense, seems to sometimes skews maybe the total yardage in the passing game. But yeah, that's a concern. Obviously, Auburn's receivers are a concern. Williams and Coates and that group, they're really good. I think Nick Marshall's gotten better and better every time he's played a football game, and he's not only able to beat you with his feet, he certainly can beat you through the air. Mississippi State realizes this is the best team they're going to play this year by a good bit. And so it's going to be a major challenge. But at the same time, I think that they're at the point of the season. They want to see how they can stand up against the kind of challenge that Auburn's going to present in this ballgame.
Well, Jim, as we close out, who has to be the MVP for Mississippi State if they're going to win this game?
Well, I really think that for both ball clubs. I think for both ball clubs, the front sevens. I think the guys and the down guys and the linebackers have got to play well, because I think both of these teams want to run the football. I think they both would like to be able to throw it when they want to, but they want to dictate when they throw the football, and they both want to run the football. And I think the fronts of these two teams have been very good this year. Both defenses are allowing less than 3 yards per play in the rushing game, which means they're both playing the run awfully well. And I think that both of these defenses want to step up and control this ball game. And I think the one that does probably has a pretty good chance of winning it.
I couldn't agree more. Jim Ellis, voice of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, really appreciate you joining us here on Sports Call this afternoon. Would love to catch up with you again sometime.
Okay, real good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. More Sports Call on the way, presented by Auburn Urgent Care.
want to hear. I do not want to hear. But we're tired from yesterday, Coach. Or the cleaning lady just left. That's what the fool who missed it would say. Gentlemen, listen to me. You need to go out there and live, and you need to do it tonight. Carpe diem, boys. And while you're at it, carpe nightem too. Great times await.
When you need to refresh, revitalize, and replenish, it's always Resource Natural Spring Water.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Brett Pritchard now joining me on this Thursday Sports Call. We appreciate all of you out there that have chosen to join us this afternoon. Love to hear from you. Give us a call at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. Great catching up there with the play-by-play man of Mississippi State, Jim Ellis. He had a lot of great things to say. But right now, we'll go right back to the AO Tourism Hotline.
Yeah, nothing like walking right into a couple of phone calls and breaking news out there in the world of sports. Luke and Alex City, you're on Sports Call.
Yeah, I was hoping you guys hadn't already mentioned that Todd Gurley has been suspended, and that is absolutely monstrous news. It's been a bad week for a few SEC players, specifically running backs, with Kenyon Drake being hurt last week, and now Gurley suspension, and of course Treon Harris in Florida being suspended at quarterback. Things are kind of ugly right now.
Luke, just my initial thoughts when I heard the news break. It said alleged NCAA violations. It makes me immediately think contact with a sports agent. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know anything, but it's one of the first things that pops in my head. And, I want your and Andy's take on this. And I surely hope this is not the mindset of some of these superstar college players. But I know, Luke, you and I on Sports Blitz have talked about this numerous times, and even AL.com wrote an article last year about superstar players even coming out of high school. But, some of these guys get to a point where they go, the risk is far greater than the reward. Some of these agents probably can get to them and get their ear and say, hey, you need to go ahead and just take what I've got over here for you and get ready to play in the NFL. I'm not sure that's what happened, but I can see that happening nowadays.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. If you're Todd Gurley and you happen to see Kenyon Drake's injury, maybe the first thing that went to your head is, that could be me. That definitely could have been me. So maybe you look at it something like that. I mean, certainly that's what everybody believes, is that is something to do with an agent. Quite possibly, I would, if I were a betting man, then that's exactly what I would bet on. But the other big picture part here to me, and everybody's going to talk about Gurley for days and days and days, maybe the entire season if he doesn't come back, is if you're a Georgia fan, when you start feeling a little bit snake bitten by Mark Richt, maybe you think, okay, if the corner is never going to turn. If you're LSU and you have Les Miles and you're having a bad season, you can kind of deal with it. I mean, it's terrible in the moment, but Les Miles did get you a national championship. He took you to another one. He had arguably the best regular season of any team I've ever seen against a very arduous schedule. And then he goes in the national championship and lays an egg, but still he got you there. And LSU has been a threat for many, many years. He's due a bad year like this year with so many young players and how many people he sent to the pros. You look at Mark Richt, and they lose last year to Nebraska. They've lost some really big games in key moments. They've lost to Vanderbilt. And now they lose their top player again when 3 weeks ago they had arguably the best 4 running backs in the SEC, or at least some up-and-comers with Nick Chubb, who's going to be the only running back out of that 4 who's going to be able to play this weekend. And then you look across your biggest rival is Auburn, and they're using a guy that you sent out of school, and he may win the Heisman and we may win the national championship. I mean, if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm again thinking, okay, with Mark Richt, something ain't working.
Yeah, if I was a Georgia fan, I'd start feeling snake bit about 5 or 6 years ago.
I would have to.
With Mark Richt, to be honest with you, and it is a nuclear bomb that went off. Now, granted, Nick Chubb and Sony Michel are fantastic.
Yeah, they're outstanding.
They look. I don't think Georgia will still be a very good running team, but losing a guy like he's spending indefinitely. What does that mean? Can he get this cleared up and be back this year?
Sure.
I guess it's possible, but as of right now, that Missouri game this weekend looked a whole lot different.
Well, this is a guy that draws comparisons this is a guy that draws comparisons to Herschel Walker, Luke. And I mean, mentally, from a mental standpoint for this team, it's devastating.
Well, I totally agree. And like I said, Keith Marshall's hurt. Sony Michel is hurt. And Todd Gurley suspended. So you're going to Missouri in what is a monster game for the SEC East. You've already lost to a South Carolina team that's just flat not very good. And you got to be thinking, we just blew another chance to go to the SEC championship game.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But, Luke, we appreciate it. And you'll be with me tomorrow or actually you'll be with me on Saturday for Saturday Sports Countdown.
I was going to say, if I'm with you tomorrow, it was news to me. But
hey, you can come join me in Chelsea tomorrow, too.
Yeah, look, I lived in Chelsea once. No thanks.
Thank you, Luke. We've got a couple calls, Andy, but we've got to get to the break, my man. I'm sorry. Stroud from Wetumpka, if you'd like to hang on, we'd love for you too, and Ed.
Fox Sports Report is next. More Sports Call on the way.
Gurley suspended by the Bulldogs indefinitely for violating NCAA rules. University won't say what rules. Gurley has 773 yards and 9 touchdowns this year and is considered a top NFL prospect. Adrian Peterson could have his bail revoked and be headed back to jail, too. Prosecutors in Montgomery County, Texas, allege that Peterson fluked a drug test. He admitted he smoked pot before he took the test last week. And tonight on Thursday Night Football, battle for first place in the AFC South. This is like being the tallest building in Lukenbach, Texas.
The only two things in life.
Houston Texans hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Kickoff at 8:25 Eastern. And I'm Looney.
Come on, get happy. The Fifth Quarter Sports Bar and Grill wants you to get happy every workday with happy hour from 3 to 6.
To lend because you have financial goals, a home to buy, kids' business to grow, your children's education to pay for. For what matters most to you in your life, our experienced, willing lenders are ready to help you achieve your goals. Auburn Bank, since 1907, your partner, your neighbor, your friend. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Online at auburnbank.com.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Reinhardt Prattville, located on Cobbs Ford Road, 334-290-1992. Visit us online at reinhardtprattville.com. Reinhardt Prattville, we sell to sell again.
You better buckle your seatbelts because it's going to be a show to watch.
From Tiger Communications.
Jackson, touchdown.
For 20 years, East Alabama's sports talk leader.
Swing and drive. Belton right.
Sports Call.
Oh, what a dunk.
Call in now at 887-3401 locally.
Right through. He got it.
Or 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free.
Struck him out.
And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains. Sports Call.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to hour number 2 of Sports Call on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Andy Graham alongside Brett Pritchard, and we'll be with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401 on our Auburn Opelika Tourism Hotline.
I know we had some calls holding before we went to break there. Maybe if they'll call us back, we'd love to hear from you.
Let's see if they're still there. I don't know if they are or not. Stroud, are you with us?
I'm here. How you guys doing?
Stroud is a trooper. He hung on through the Fox Sports Report. Stroud, you're on Sports Call with us. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, that's called.
Now, he held on that long, and then he faded away. There he is. What's going on, Stroud? Can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Got you now.
All right, good deal. I'll start the call off with a score. I like Auburn 42, Mississippi State 28.
Okay. And
I think that team score a lot.
And how many third down conversions? How many third down conversions for State?
I mean, they're gonna move the ball, so I say probably 8.
8. Sounds good.
Right.
Sounds good, Stroud. What else is up?
Well, let's talk about Georgia for a second. When Georgia beat Clemson at the beginning of the year, the national perception of that program to be national.
Going in and out on us.
Houston, we have a problem. And we got a sunspot or two out there. Stroud, we have lost you again. I think we just lost you permanently there. Try us back, Stroud, and we'd love to let you give your thoughts on Georgia. Ed, are you still with us?
I think I am.
Yeah, he is. You're with us, Ed. What's up, man?
Okay. I had a couple of comments real quick on the Todd Gurley thing. One thing to keep into mind is when this infraction happened, and they might have to forfeit every game that they've played so far. So that would open the East up. If this infraction happened, before the season, and they're just getting wind of it, they might have to forfeit every game they played. So that would open the East up completely. And if it's such a secret, there seems to be a lot of people who are claiming to know what happened. So I don't know anything about that. I know that Georgia's downplaying it like they probably should. If I was Jed Jacobs, I would be, but it could be a lot more than just a couple of games suspension. If this is something that happened before the season, they've got some big problems. And on the Adrian Peterson thing, I heard that he admitted to smoking pot on the way to take his test. Now if that isn't just that, I'm not going to say dumb. I'm going to say it's a little bit beyond that. I don't really know the word for it, but it might be something like that. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see this Gurley thing play out. I've got, I don't like to play a team with their star player hurt or put out or anything like that. You want to beat them at their best. But even if he's back for the Auburn game, if this, and they decide but they may have to forfeit some games that they've already played. I appreciate y'all taking my call, and I love your program.
Ed, we appreciate you calling us every time, and welcome to call any time. And that's
a good point.
No, it's a great point. You're so caught up in the moment moving forward, you don't think about what happens backwards. And let me say this, because I want to preface it with it. I think every college and every program, Andy, has stuff pop up. But the sad thing about it is Mark Richt seems like a really nice guy and an upstanding guy, but it just is apparent with all of the junk that has gone on in that program, especially over the last 5 years, that the players just don't have any respect for him. I mean, they don't. I mean, complete disregard. If they cared about him, just an nth, they wouldn't do what they've done. And the reason I say that is because they've had overly inordinate amount of these things go on. I mean, Auburn, I know, look, it was very apparent. I'm going to say it just like I want to say it on here. It's very apparent that nobody had any respect for Gene Chizik the last 2 years. The program was out of control. The players were doing what they were wanting to do. He allowed them to do what they wanted to do, and so that it reflected on the field. There was no preparation put in, and the things that the players did to get in trouble was a direct shot at him, saying, "Look, you can tell us all you want to. You want us to do this, we don't do it." Gus Malzahn now. You can tell players have respect for him. Nick Saban, you can tell those players have respect. They may be scared to death, but they have respect for him, and so forth and so on. Bart Rick is such a nice guy. I just think they run over him, Andy. I don't know. I may be completely off base, but that's just what it seems like to me.
It's hard to argue with that. Looking at what happens, and looking at how many players get kicked off that team every single year. It just I don't think you can look at it any other way.
I completely agree. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jeff in Columbus, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, guys, y'all there?
We're here, Jeff. How are you, man?
Hey. All right. As a Georgia fan, I just about had as much as I could stand. Man, I tell you what, why didn't they – I believe maybe they need to just play Gurley, and then take the consequences. NCAA doesn't have enough fight, and stuff like that. Kind of the way, Auburn did with Cam Newton, right? You're not going to win with them or without them, so why not just play it? And then you'll see, let them hatch it out 5 years later.
It's a relative point.
Do that.
Yeah, it's a relative point.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Mark Richt's not going to do that, right? But and then what one of your co-hosts say? You've got Nick Marshall starting at Auburn. I mean, what? Mark Richt's supposed to keep him on the team to win games? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. If anybody can tell me that Gus Malzahn is a better person, a better judge of character, or anything like that than Gus Malzahn or than Mark Richt, I just don't believe that. I mean, he suspends guys that need to be suspended, right? Or gets rid of players that don't fit into the program.
Well,
but then they go on to other universities, and they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, okay? And then you got, Nick Marshall suspended for a half for a game that Georgia would have to suspend them for at least a game. Their rules are different. Their drug policy is different, So unless everybody's playing on the same sheet of music, then it doesn't make any sense. But I'll tell you what, I'll take 10 wins, every other year. I'll take, an SEC playoff game. If you make it, great, but at least you got a little character. He's been doing it for a long time, and I get it from Georgia fans. I mean, I don't care. I mean, if Todd Gurley did something wrong, he needs to be gone. Right? If anybody, it's not all about winning. It's a class of character. And that's something that a lot of people just don't understand. But I appreciate y'all taking my call.
Yeah, we appreciate it too. And, we've kicked that around multiple times on this program and on Sports Blitz. And, one of the things that you got to look at is, he did, and Nick Marshall was suspended for a half. He technically didn't have to be suspended for anything because he wasn't found guilty of anything. All right. So Gus Malzahn suspends him, doesn't take him immediate days. The leading tackler and interception guy on the team, Jermaine Whitehead, nobody even knows where he is right now. He's not even with the team. And, in a secondary that was a lot of question marks going into this season, we can sit here and point fingers and call one coach this and one coach that. But I can tell you, I can't speak for Gus Malzahn, but I can sure say what Gene Chizik did. And that was Gene Chizik let a program go awry, and things went on. Gus Malzahn, to me, looks like a pretty good disciplinarian and looks like a guy that's a no-nonsense guy. Am I missing something there, Andy?
No, Jeff, obviously a big supporter of Mark Richt and thinks
that's fine. And that's
thinks he's doing what he needs to do, thinks he's doing what he has to do. The question is, why does it keep coming up? Are you recruiting the same, the wrong kind of kids, I guess?
The problem is what he's bringing up is that they transfer, and you transfer and you move on to another program. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Auburn's had guys transfer and move on to another program and do extremely well. Alabama's had it happen. Florida State's had it happen. We can go down the list. It happens everywhere. And, yeah, I don't think any program is clean. And you know what? Mark Richt may be the last of the good guys standing out there. I'm not saying he's not. And maybe he is suffering the consequences for it, because you know what, in college football, that's how it's viewed now, unfortunately, because I just said it. I think I prefaced it. I think Mark Richt's a great guy. Didn't I say that, Andy? I think he does a tremendous job. What I'm saying is I don't think this – to be such a nice guy, the players seem like they run over him a lot. And then he has to do what he's got to do to get rid of them. And you know what? Kudos to him for standing by his ground and doing what he's got to do to keep his program the way he thinks it needs to be. You know,
we'd love to hear from you. 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free locally at 334-887-3401 on our Auburn Opelika Tourism Hotline. We're up against a break, but when we come back, we'll continue this discussion. More Sports Call on the way.
When you're looking for the best chicken fingers and wings in town, nothing else will hit the spot better than JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has everything you need to curb a big appetite, and they have all-you-can-eat chicken fingers on Monday night and all-you-can-eat wings on Tuesday night. Any child wearing their City League uniform eats for $1.99 on the kids' menu. Check out our Facebook page daily for our dine-in special. Visit us at 145 Alabama Street in Alex City.
Alex City Food Shop is now your local Shell station, located on the corner of Airport Drive and Highway 280. Stop by and experience performance that excites with Shell V-Power gasoline. No other gasoline protects better than Shell nitrogen-enriched gasoline by cleaning performance-robbing gunk from intakes and fuel injectors. And we now accept Winn-Dixie Fuel Perks and Fuel Rewards Network cards, so you can save on fuel purchases. See store for details. State-of-the-art touch-free car wash, snacks, cold drinks, ice, and much more for your tailgating needs. Alex City Food Shop on the corner of Airport Drive and Highway 280, where we're always open and appreciate your business.
Lake Winds Golf Course, the most affordable, quality round of golf in Central Alabama. Located right off Highway 280 on County Road 4 in Alexander City, Lake Winds Golf Course offers affordable memberships, an updated pro shop, junior golf program, annual tournaments, and weekly matches. Call for your tee time today, 256-825-9860. Lake Winds Golf Course.
Auburn Urgent Care, located on South College in Auburn and on Enterprise Drive in Opelika near Tigertown, offers convenient solutions to your health care and occupational medicine needs. We offer workman's compensation injury care, and we have a certified DOT medical examiner on staff. It's not about speed. It's about the quality of care. We're open 7 days a week, 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekends in Auburn, and 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday in Opelika. Walk-ins are welcome. Auburn Urgent Care. 334-821-3221 in Auburn or 334-749-9191 in Opelika. Visit us online at auburnurgentcare.com. Proud of our past, confident in our future. And for your primary health care needs, visit Family Health Clinic at 1456 Opelika Road in Auburn. 334-826-8951. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
At Reinhardt Prattville on 2154 Cobbs Ford Road, we have over 300 used vehicles in stock. Sedans, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers, imports, and domestics. We're proud to be celebrating 10 years in Prattville. Come by and see managers Donnie Crozier or Skip Latham and get your best deal on a used vehicle. We're open 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday. ReinhardtPrattville.com. Reinhardt Prattville, where we sell to sell again. Is your paycheck slipping away in insurance premiums? Let Alpha Insurance show you how to tackle savings with rewards and discounts for loyal customers. Save even more when you bundle your home, car, and life insurance with Alpha. Plus, you get friendly service from our hometown team. In Opelika, call Alpha agent Brian Foreman at 334-749-3371 or stop by our office at 709 2nd Avenue in Opelika.
At Russell Do-It-Center stores, you'll find a complete assortment of lumber, building materials, hardware, electrical and plumbing supplies, paint, tools, and lawn and garden merchandise. Russell Do-It-Center stores deliver first-class service, top-rated products, and competitive do-it-best pricing. Russell Do-It-Center also offers free estimates, free local delivery, and price-match pumps. Check us out at www.russelldoitcenter.com or visit one of our 9 locations in Central Alabama.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Brett here with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401 on our Auburn Opelika Tourism Hotline. And we'll go right back to the phone line.
Yeah, let's go to the phone lines. Matt in Auburn, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Good, Matt. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, this is Matt Packfield calling from Auburn. I like to put my hometown on the map.
There you go.
Somebody probably never heard of it. Anyway, I drive a truck, man. I'm coming back from LaGrange, and I'm trying to get y'all off the station and coming in and out. But what happened with the Tom Gurley situation?
He just.
Other than, y'all know what happened?
Well, Georgia announced that he's been suspended indefinitely due to an alleged NCAA violation, which we have interpreted, which may be completely off base, as maybe contact with an agent or something along those lines. That's usually what it ends up being. I'm not saying that's what it is going to be at the end, but that's usually what it ends up being.
And basically, he's suspended until they figure out whether whatever he did, or if he did something wrong, or if he didn't do something wrong, until it comes to fruition, he's suspended, basically.
That's correct.
And then, of course, if he did do that, then I'm sure he's done for the year.
Yeah.
Well, this is to the caller from Columbus. I understand what he's trying to say about Mark Rick, and I for one, I think a lot of Mark Rick. I think he's just a good guy. I think he stands, for his beliefs. And I like Mark Rick, but I do think that maybe to his players he may come across as, hey, he believes in forgiveness, and they tend to, run over him or stretch the limits what they can get by with. And unfortunately, that's just it. But to say that, Auburn, goes after bad players, well, the difference between Gus Malzahn, I believe, and for the previous coach is, Gus is a man of forgiveness. He'll pick up a player, from Auburn, Georgia, or wherever this man's done wrong in the past. But they do know that when they get to Auburn, that they're going to have to walk a tight line. And I guarantee you Nick Marshall knows that if he does anything stupid from here on out, which I don't think he will, then he knows he's done. And just like, Cam Newton, when he came to Auburn, yeah, he had a bad pass, but he didn't screw up while he was at Auburn. And as far as, the allegations, we all speculate what happened, but I don't think it had anything to do with Cam. I don't think it was his dad, but either way, nothing ever came out of that. But the thing about it is, though, when they come to Auburn, these players, I believe in second chances. I don't think that's wrong going to get the players screwed up somewhere else, but let them know, hey, you get here, if you do that again, what you did over there, or if you do something real stupid, then you're going to suffer. And I think the players know that, and I think they respect Gus. I guarantee you Whitehead knows that, because his NFL careers potentially could be damaged. And I'll hang up and get y'all thoughts, man. Y'all do a great job. I appreciate you taking my call.
Matt, we appreciate your phone call today. And look, Andy, I want to talk about something you said off the air, is that, we're already talking about paying players, and that's moving down a fast track. And, and you look back at stuff like Johnny Manziel and some of these guys that got paid for autographs. Well, so what? It's their life. The NCAA has some of the silliest rules. And I know that you have to abide by rules, but if we're talking about a few $100s here and there in a $1 billion industry like college football, and these kids are the reason that the $1 billion industry is what it is, I mean, are we kidding ourselves now? I mean, I'm just saying, because I saw something here that just came across that it could possibly be he was involved in getting money for autographs and letting his likeness be used otherwise. And if that's the case, then I'm sorry. Then, that is really, splitting hairs. That is small beans in a multi-billion dollar industry. If that's what this ends up being, and I have to say that the NCAA doesn't have any teeth. I think, a lot of people agree with me on that. And, I just hope it, for the sake of him and Georgia, the program, it's not something that small.
Yeah, and especially since the fact that the court has already ruled that players can be compensated for their likenesses now. It's just a matter of that rule being implemented. Of course, it's still be in the courts now, and it's going to be appealed and all of that. And certainly you got to let the legal process play out. But, with the SEC, the Power 5 conferences getting autonomy, talking about paying players, giving them better benefits, whatever that might be, however that is framed, letting them capitalize on their likenesses to some degree. There is a monetary cap on that. But, again, what are we talking about? A.J. Green for Georgia was suspended, 2 games because he supposedly sold a jersey. I mean,
that's so silly in the scheme of things. I mean, it's their stuff. I mean, I can see there needs to be some changes there, and it needs to be some amendments to that, and maybe there will be. Michael in Auburn, you're on Sports Call.
Comment on the whole Mark Richt situation. I look at it just like coaches. I mean, you could be I thought Tuberville was the nicest guy in the world, but I mean, you start losing. And the same things start happening over and over and over, they gonna send you up the road. And maybe, with Rick, it's tolerated. I know a lot of Georgia fans that, he's had all that talent and not just, the disciplinary actions is just, they're going to lose one game every year to a team like Tuberville that, they're not supposed to lose. And so for the guy to say, well, Rick does it better or doesn't, I mean, how much is too much? When do you start saying, well, this is the same old situation. Maybe we need to look at least doing something different. Even if you keep Rick, I mean, somebody's got to step up and say, hey, enough's enough. We got to get control of the program.
Yeah, I think, it depends on, some Georgia fans, I think, are at the point to where they feel like maybe it's time to move on. Others think that's just the craziest idea in the world. And to be honest with you, look at Rick's record. Certainly they're still right now in a great position. They could win the East, go to the SEC championship game yet again. But it's all a matter of perspective. I'm not sure this specific incident reflects in any way, one way or the other, on Mark Richt. Again, I mentioned the A.J. Green situation. You can't police these guys with every single thing that they do. And I know Mark Richt has a ton of support out there. It's kind of an interesting situation. I think you come to a certain point after you've been at school for so long. Some people, there just comes a point in time where people get tired of hearing the same voice and they're ready to hear a new voice. I'm not sure if Georgia's there yet, but certainly a lot more football to be played in this season.
Definitely, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Michael, we appreciate your call. 1-888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. And talking about Todd Gurley, obviously the news breaking. Don't know if, what I just saw that somebody sent me regarding autographs is correct, but that's what it is. Everything out there is speculative at this point until we get some official word outside of just that he's indefinitely suspended due to a possible NCAA rules violation. So,
well, Johnny Manziel got a half?
He got a half. So.
Yeah. Maybe it's not as dire as, at the beginning. Just see indefinitely suspended and you automatically, your mind jumps to, man, this is big.
Well, all that means is that there's no end. You don't know what the end is. There is no 2 or 3 week time frame put on this thing. That there's got to be some research done on the situation before they can say yay or nay, he's coming back or what the deal is. But I don't know, Andy. Sometimes, when I start thinking now in this new day and age of college football and how many millions and millions and even up to billions of dollars spent on these contracts, and some of the silly little things that go on, that we would suspend a player that would affect a team season, a Heisman race for a jersey. I'm just saying, if it comes down to that, for a jersey that he decided that he wears, that they make money off of, I mean, to me, this thing is, that's what this Ed O'Bannon case is, and they found that he was right. I mean, it's not fair to a certain extent. It really isn't.
Up against a break here. When we come back, hopefully we're going to catch up with Brian Matthews from auburnsports.com. Be sure to join us on the other side of this break. More Sports Call right after this.
If you're like me, life begins where the paved road ends. America was founded on dreams of land ownership. Just you, the dirt, your imagination, and the sweat of your brow to create your own piece of paradise. We love making dreams come true at First South Farm Credit. We can custom tailor a loan for you with great rates and terms up to 25 years. Come see me, Taylor Hard, on South College Street in Auburn. Visit our website at firstsouthland.com or give us a call at 826-LAND, 826-LAND. First South Farm Credit. We finance land, farms, and dreams.
Stop by your local TK's convenience store where Resource Natural Spring Water 700 milliliter bottles are buy one, get one free. Resource is a 100% natural spring water with naturally occurring electrolytes for taste. It's good for you and mindful of the environment thanks to a bottle made with 50% recycled plastic. So visit your local TK's convenience store to refresh, revitalize, and replenish with a special buy one, get one free offer on Resource Spring Water. Excludes label and cap. Recycling facilities may not be available in your area.
It was just one of those days. I had a million things to do. This was the last thing I was expecting.
No matter how well you drive, things happen. And when they do, the ASE certified technicians at Franklin Tire and Auto know there's only one way to fix it, the right way. From accident repair to factory scheduled maintenance, Franklin Tire will give you honest, dependable service at a competitive price. Proudly serving the area since 1970 and still locally owned and operated.
No shortcuts, no compromise, and friendly service every time. Franklin Tire and Auto in Auburn, 821-4572 and franklinautoinc.com.
Tiger Iron Gym, Auburn's best gym, wants you to work out on your terms. Starting this October, Tiger Iron Gym unveils its new $29 pay-as-you-go plan. No contracts, no sign-up fees. Membership at Auburn's Best Gym comes with perks like gym access 24/7, 365 days a year, tons of parking, and even more equipment. Tiger Iron Gym pay-as-you-go October. Only $29 a month. No contract, no hidden fees. Tiger Iron Gym, Auburn's Best Gym, 24/7, 365 days a year. In the Winn-Dixie Shopping Center on South College.
Every day you wake up with a brand new to-do list. You get the kids to school on time and clock in at the office with a minute to spare. You follow the rules and have a get-it-done attitude. You work hard when you're tired. Treat yourself to the best gourmet burger in Auburn at KJ's on South College. Try the smokehouse topped with grilled onions, smoky applewood bacon cheddar, and barbecue sauce. Come on, you deserve it. Gourmet burgers only $5. Weekdays from 11 to 4 at KJ's on South College.
Auburn Links is proud to honor the people who keep us safe, the men and women of the military, and the police, fire, and EMTs of Lee County. To show their thanks, Auburn Links is offering you special discounts. Just show your ID, and you'll get 18 holes of the best golf around for just $25 anytime. That's right, members of the military, along with police, fire, and EMTs of Lee County, 18 holes for just $25. Auburn Links wants to thank you for what you do with a great round of golf. Auburn Links off exit 51. Call 887-5151.
In a world where time is money, only one team can conquer all your printing and marketing needs, big or small. Call the A-Team, Allegra Printing. The experts at Allegra can handle it all, from concept, copywriting, and design to printing, targeting, and mailing. They're local, knowledgeable, accurate, and quick. Don't risk your company's success on a faceless, faraway online imitator. There can be only one. Allegra Printing, your A-Team in Auburn at the University Crossing Shopping Center behind McAllister's Deli. Allegra-auburnal.com.
TK's welcomes its newest kid on the block, Valero Store 18, located on Dean Road in Auburn. The spot for the best price on quality gasoline. With a new look, great prices, and friendly faces, TK's Valero Store 18 on Dean Road should be your only place to stop and fill up and grab a cup of coffee. Always steaming hot and ready to help you start your day. TK's Valero Store 18 is your quality gas low price leader.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. here's to a one-of-a-kind Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is a proud sponsor of the College Football Playoff. Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy Graham here with you for another 30 minutes, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. We'll actually take your phone calls in the next segment, but right now we're going to welcome in our weekly guest, Brian Matthews from AuburnSports.com. Hey, Brian, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going terrific. Good to be back in with you guys.
Well, Brian, let's just start off right out of the gate and talk a little bit about the breaking news of today. Just get your reaction on Todd Gurley being suspended indefinitely right now as the NCAA investigates him for a possible violation.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's another issue with memorabilia or signing something in that respect. And it's a shame for Todd because he was probably the leading Heisman candidate, although I think we may be looking at the top two going up against each other Saturday night in Starkville. But, it's a big loss for Georgia. But the one thing this Georgia team does have depth at is the running back position. I think Nick Chubb is going to be the starter. He's a very talented young man, too. So I still think they'll be very effective offensively running the ball.
Well, last week when we talked, you were actually at the Hoover-Spain Park game. Said you were going to catch up with Auburn commit Darrell Williams. How did that go? What's his commitment? How firm do you believe his commitment is to the Tigers?
Well, Darrell was really forthcoming after the game, and he talked about how he feels a lot stronger about Auburn over the past month. He's been down to a couple of games. His parents, I think, are really, especially his mom, is really in Auburn's camp now. So I think that commitment's gotten stronger. I would say everything's 100% with Darrell until, he's definitely not visiting other schools or he signs with Auburn. But I think things are really looking up there. He was a guy that a lot of people sort of thought might eventually flip to Alabama, but that's the case right now.
Well, if we got Mama, that ain't a bad thing.
That's right.
Well, you, again, correctly last week predicted that Auburn would beat LSU by 3 touchdowns, which I was very surprised. But what was it about the matchup that you liked so much?
Yeah, I had Auburn 41-13, and I just thought that I think LSU is just in a down cycle right now. When you send 18 players in the NFL draft, over 2 years, your program's going to take a little step back no matter how good you recruit. And I think LSU is just in one of those years where they got too many key players that are freshmen or inexperienced, and especially at quarterback, as we saw Saturday night, and they're just going to have to, work their way through this. I don't think this is a sign that the program's on the downswing as a whole. I think they'll be back up near the top by this time next year.
Patrick Miller has practiced this week. He did not play against LSU. Do you think he will play Saturday night, or maybe a better question, should he play Saturday night?
Well, I think he would definitely travel, and I think he's ready to play. I don't know for sure if he will or not, because I think that's maybe the biggest question for Auburn going into this game is, they can put Pat Miller back there at right tackle, or are they going to go ahead and leave Devontae Dancy in their guard because he's played so well? I don't know the answer to that yet, but I feel like they have that option now, and with Dancy stepping in and playing well, they feel like they have the depth now that they can incur injuries if they need to.
Well, Auburn, number 2 in the country, traveling to Starkville this weekend, number 3 in the country. What do you like most about this MSU team?
Well, Dak Prescott, number 1. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country and a legit Heisman Trophy candidate. And number 2, I really like their front 7 on defense. I think it may be the best in the SEC. But I think Auburn's really good too. We'll see. But they're very, very strong up front. They got a couple of guys I think are going to be first-round draft choices on that front 7, and just really good against the run. They're number 2 in the SEC, giving up less than 100 yards a game rushing. So I think those are the 2 biggest strengths for Mississippi State going into this game.
Dak Prescott, as you mentioned, having a terrific season this year, 13 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, running the ball well, throwing the ball well. Do you think he's more dangerous for Auburn in the pocket or on the run?
Definitely on the run. He is a very good pocket passer, but I think he really hurts you when he gets loose and can scramble or even on his plan runs, his powers and a lot of the stuff you saw Cam Newton do in 2010 is other things that do with Dak. Those quarterback powers and leads and such, running between the tackles most of the time, and he's about 6'2", 230, and can really deliver a blow to a linebacker or safety that tries to go through and tackle him. So that's going to be the toughest matchup. Auburn did well against Jake Waters, Kansas State's quarterback, who they use a lot in the running game, but Dak Prescott's a better, more physical runner than Jake is, so it's going to be a little bit tougher for Auburn to keep him hemmed in.
I don't think it's probably any doubt that this will be the best team that each of these teams has played this season so far. You look down the statistics; they match up so well against each other. They look very similar against each other offensively. Their numbers match up really well, except that defense, the Mississippi State giving up over 300 yards passing a game. That just that stat jumps out at you. It seems a little out of place. What does Auburn have to do in order to win this game?
Well, I think what you mentioned there, I think their pass defense is something that Auburn needs to exploit. So I think Nick Marshall, Sammy Coates, and Duke Williams and they'll have good games, and they need to, get some big plays, because I think, Mississippi State's going to throw a lot into stopping and trying to slow down Auburn's running game. But if Auburn can throw the ball well early on, I think that'll open up some things for that offense, running the ball too. So I think it's really important that Nick Marshall has a really good game and gets off to a good start.
Yeah, this Auburn defense has played extremely well this year, but this offense from Mississippi State will be a little different. Like you said, Kansas State had a running quarterback. They ran the read option a little bit, but facing the Mississippi State offense is going to be really a different animal. Do you see, how does that matchup work out as far as the Auburn defense versus that Mississippi State offense?
Well, I think Auburn's defense is playing outstanding so far. So I know Mississippi State's got a good offense, but I don't expect them to roll up a whole bunch of yards and points against Auburn regardless. And I think, the biggest thing Auburn has to be worried about is Dak, and keeping him hemmed in. But even if you slow down the running game, he can pick you apart throwing the ball. And they've got some receivers that can make big plays too, just like Auburn does. So they're going to have to play Auburn an all-around great game to slow them down and to win this. They can't. There's not one area of Mississippi State's team where offensively where I see a weakness. I think they've got it all. I think they've got big play receivers. They got big possession receivers like Jerron Wilson. They've got a good running back, a very good offensive line with 3 seniors, and one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Mississippi State plays now that we know a little bit more. At the time, certainly an overrated LSU team at number 8 on the road. They come home, they play a number 6 Texas A&M at home and handled them extremely well. Game day is coming to Starkville. Auburn's the number 2 team in the country. Do you think that this Mississippi State team, not having really understood or enjoyed this kind of success in quite a while, if ever really, do you think they're adapt to handle this kind of pressure, this kind of hype?
I think that's one of the questions they'll have to answer Saturday, and I think that is a reasonable, thing to be worried about if you're on Mississippi State's side. How they're going to handle all the success, all this attention. This is and then they're saying that this is the biggest game in Mississippi State history. So it's a lot of pressure for them to go play. And when you go over their schedule, look at it. You mentioned LSU was overrated, and I agree. And I think Texas A&M is overrated too. I don't think they're that great of a team. I think they're good, but I don't think they're great. I don't think Mississippi State has necessarily been tested, especially by a team with a good defense. South Alabama, UAB, Southern Miss, LSU, Texas A&M. I don't think any of those teams possess very good defenses. So I think Auburn does have a very good defense. It'll be really interesting to see how successful Mississippi State is moving the ball against Auburn.
Well, we've been doing this all year now. You've become kind of like E.F. Hutton now. When you talk, I'm listening. What is your gut feeling as far as this game and the outcome come Saturday?
Well, I've got Auburn winning, and I think I've pretty much settled on 31-17 as my final score. I think Auburn's a better team, and I think they're more prepared to handle an atmosphere and a game of this magnitude, even if it is on the road.
Yeah, it was a huge weekend for Auburn in recruiting, like you mentioned. Hundreds of recruits
there in Auburn to witness that game. A great showcase. The crowd was great. The win was terrific. Auburn's got 20 commitments now on the roster. Who does Auburn want to close out with? What positions do they still feel like are a position of need?
Well, there's not many need-wise. I mean, they'd like to have another receiver, but they don't have to have one. And they had 3 good ones in this weekend. And, I would not be surprised to see a guy like John Burt, who's committed to Texas, potentially flip to Auburn, or a guy like Kirk Merritt, a 4-star Rivals 100 receiver from Louisiana, end up picking Auburn. So I think Auburn did well there. But as far as needs go, Auburn needs some more defensive linemen. They'd like to sign 4, maybe 5. They got 1 so far. So that's a big area of need right now. And Maurice Swain, the big JUCO D tackle, is in this weekend. I think Auburn's a leader for him right now, and I would not be surprised to see him be a part of this class eventually. He's a teammate with Jason Smith and Tony Bridges, 2 of Auburn's current commitments down there. He's from Troup County, which is just up the road. So I think a lot of signs are really pointing to Maurice Swain ended up in Auburn. And then, after that, after defensive line, wide receiver, Auburn, might take another defensive back if there's a good one, or a linebacker out there. If they can get a guy like Jeffrey Holland. Offensively, they like to have another offensive lineman. We got 2 really good ones, Martez Ivy and Javon Patterson on the board there. Patterson was in this past weekend, and they take one or both of those guys, they can get them.
Well, Brian, just to let everybody know what's going on at auburnsports.com right now.
Well, we just put up our hot boards today, so you can look at all those top targets I just mentioned on there, and we'll have the big war room out tomorrow, which everybody gets pretty excited about. A lot of inside information on recruiting, and I came up with some really good team stuff that you'll be able to read about tomorrow in that, and plenty of coverage of the game coming up, and plenty of recruiting too. I didn't talk to just Darrell Williams. I talked to his teammate Jeremiah Moon, who's a 2016 linebacker. Has an Auburn and several other SEC schools, so I'll have that update either tonight or tomorrow also. So lots going on at auburnsports.com.
Brian Matthews from auburnsports.com. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Hey, thanks. Anytime, guys.
Thank you very much. More Sports Call to come right after this break.
Purchasing a home can sometimes be overwhelming. Instead, it should be an exciting time for you and your family. Hi, I'm Angela Van Houten with Century 21 Lake Area Realty. I want to help you find the home or property that perfectly fits your needs. With over 15 years of experience in real estate, I am proud to serve the Lake Martin and surrounding areas. Call or text me today, 256-596-0566, or find me on the web at angelavanhouten.com and let me help you find the home you've always dreamed of.
Auburn Urgent Care, located on South College in Auburn and on Enterprise Drive in Opelika near Tigertown, offers convenient solutions to your healthcare and occupational medicine needs. We offer workman's compensation injury care, and we have a certified DOT medical examiner on staff. It's not about speed. It's about the quality of care. We're open 7 days a week, 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekends in Auburn, and 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday in Opelika. Walk-ins are welcome. Auburn Urgent Care. 334-821-3221 in Auburn, or 334-749-9191 in Opelika. Visit us online at auburnurgentcare.com. Proud of our past, confident in our future. And for your primary health care needs, visit Family Health Clinic at 1456 Opelika Road in Auburn. 334-826-8951. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
CertaPro Painters of Auburn, Alabama, and Columbus, Georgia is locally owned and operated by Mike and Chris Dodd. Whether it's interior or exterior, residential or commercial, CertaPro Painters delivers a professional painting experience to you. We give you a free detailed written estimate, free color consultation. We provide a 2-year warranty for your protection. We also offer an easy pay program. Call 334-651-0033 or 706-225-8070. CertaPro Painters. Experience the difference a pro can make.
From cruises and resorts to land tours and completely packaged vacations, Ruta Lisa Anderson of Cruise Planners specializes in all types of travel and will create an unforgettable vacation. Visit exotic destinations, Alaska, Europe, Hawaii, and more. Visit exclusivecruiseplanners.com or call Ruth Lisa Anderson of Cruise Planners today, toll free at 844-722-6342.
There's no doubt that high school and college athletics rule the state of Alabama. Increase exposure for your business by spending your advertising dollars on the best sports programming in Alabama. Sports Blitz, Sportscall, and the AHSAA radio network. In a sports-hungry state like Alabama, Sports Blitz, Sportscall, and the AHSAA radio network will offer your business the best return on investment. We have packages designed to fit any budget. Call today, 256-794-8223.
Before the big game on Saturday, tune in to Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown on FM Talk 95.9.
Answered prayer.
From 10 a.m. to noon, Luke Robinson, Brett Pritchard, and Randy Lee break down the day's biggest games and the latest news from around the sports world. You can call in at 800-782-0108 or watch live at sportsblitzlive.com. That's sports with a Z.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
Saturday Sports Countdown this Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon.
The Southern Tales collection isn't just an expression of class, it's an Auburn way of life. Whether it's a long day on the lake with your closest friends or cheering for the best team in the SEC, we aim to provide comfortable, quality clothing fit for any occasion. God, family, and football are the three things we hold closest, and we hope to share these things through our product line with the people we love the most, our Auburn family. SouthernTalesCollection.com. Southern Tales, not just an expression of class, an Auburn way of life.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Resource Natural Spring Water. Resource is 100% natural spring water with naturally occurring electrolytes that support a lifestyle of well-being. When you need to refresh, revitalize, and replenish, it's always Resource Natural Spring Water.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment on the Thursday Sports Call. Andy and Brett here taking you home. We'd love to hear from you. Still time to get that final prediction in. Auburn versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State third down conversions being the tiebreaker. Still time to comment on anything we've talked about today. Obviously, been a pretty exciting show. It's always fun when some breaking news drops, and nothing bigger than what we've had today.
It's fun when it's not your team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember the day we were on the air and it came across that Nick Marshall had been pulled over.
Oh, my goodness.
That was an interesting day as well. But Todd Gurley, running back for Georgia, obviously Heisman candidate, leading the SEC in rushing, has been suspended indefinitely while he is investigated for an possible NCAA violation. Don't know what that is, but, memorabilia, maybe he sold a jersey, an autograph.
That's
an agent. You never really quite know. But one thing's for sure, I've never seen a quick NCAA investigation.
No, unless it was the week of the Georgia game and NCAA cleared Cam Newton to play. That might have been the quickest I've ever seen, and I'm glad they came to a resolution so quickly. Let's go back to the phone lines. Spencer in Montgomery on Sports Call.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Doing good, Spencer. How are you?
Great. Hey, I've been there to Starkville twice, 1990 and then 2008. Both 1-point wins. That last one, the 3-2 debacle.
That is.
And it just seems like odd things happen, when we go over there, and it doesn't seem to just be attributable just to cowbells. It's weird. But that being the case, I'm going to go with a weird score: 29-28 Auburn.
I'll take it. And what's the third down conversions for Mississippi State?
I give them 7.
7, okay. And, well, that's an interesting score, and 29-28 Auburn. I'll definitely take it. I'll take 3-2. We did have that. And
I'm headed over there, so I hope I'm good luck.
I hope you are too, Spencer. Be safe, and War Eagle to you over there.
War Eagle back. See you, man.
I appreciate it. Time for a call. Got a couple more minutes in tonight's show as Spencer predicted a 1-point win. Look, I'm going to go on out on a limb, Andy, and say it's not going to be a 3-2 one this time. Could you believe what you were seeing that year?
No.
On 3-2.
I mean,
we scored all 5 points because we held an end zone, gave them a safety. They didn't score anything. So.
Again, you could see, the beginning of the end. Tony Franklin was hired, and things didn't get off too well. We struggled a little bit against, Southern Miss, but we ran the ball well, and everybody said, well, it's only a matter of time before this offense, the system really gets into place.
Sure.
Then we go to Mississippi State, and that is I've never been
That's
more ashamed of a win in my life than after that game. It was absolute, and the look on Sylvester Croom's face as he and Tommy Tuberville met at halftime, it was Tommy you could see him, he was going to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just that then again, that may be one of the more memorable games in the history of this.
There's no doubt. The LSU Auburn matchup, we want to say so many weird things have happened in the Auburn LSU, just 3 games that we keep going back to every year, and the next year really nothing else happened. So there's been more weird stuff in the Mississippi State rivalry than there has been in the LSU, and it'll be hard to top a 3-2. There's been a lot more baseball games between Auburn and Mississippi State end up higher scoring than that. That's just odd. You never see that when it took place. You're saying surely that's not how it's going to end up, and it did. So it tells you how bad both teams were. Not 2 bad teams on the field Saturday.
No, absolutely not. So many factors go into this, and I've said this, go all this week. When you look down through the statistics, and both teams are so even right now. And you look at the competition, I really believe Auburn is better prepared to play this game. I think they've played the tougher schedule. That looked like a very impressive win when Mississippi State went to LSU, but now we see LSU just not that good of a football team. Brian Matthews said he thought Texas A&M was overrated. So no doubt Auburn will be by far the best team Mississippi State's seen. Special teams probably play an issue in this game. Whenever the statistics are close, you look to those kind of, a punt return, a shank punt. Who is better, in those special teams, in those minor little things. Turnovers play a big role in this game.
Huge role, especially on the road. You don't want to turn the football over. You want to play it as close to the vest as you can. And live to play another series. Don't try something dumb and cost you a big turnover.
Yeah, Brett and Randy will actually be bringing you Sports Call tomorrow, 4 to 6. They'll be on the road there in Chelsea doing the Benjamin Russell Chelsea game. So be sure to join them as they bring you Sports Call tomorrow, Friday, 4 to 6. For Brett Pritchard, my name is Andy Gray. I'm saying so long for now. We'll talk again soon.
Sean Coleman, yes. I've got a contact down there that I definitely can get in touch with. Can you tell me the young man's name? Aiden Dawson. All right. How old is he? All right, Jennifer, let me and if you just want to try to line up a phone conversation with him, is that what you want to do? Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Let me, I will get on that and I'll call you. Thank you so much. Yeah, man. What can I say?